It is Wednesday night, Auburn family, and everything within the Auburn family spectrum is fair game on this particular live stream. This is your comments, your calls, your show. This is our Wednesday night Auburn family live stream where you help dictate the content and what we discuss here on E2C Network Live. Thank you for joining us, whether you are watching live or on the replay. We appreciate you being here with us and spending some time here on our channel. As we get started tonight, I want to remind you of a couple of things as we always do. If you can right now, make sure you smash that like button if you do enjoy this type of content. If you enjoy what we put out here in this particular format or other things on the channel, even on social media, on Twitter and Facebook. If you're watching there, you can do similar things such as retweeting and sharing. And we'd like for you to also use this time, this opportunity to check in to our show here. Post where you're watching from, city, state, international, all of that stuff down there with a War Eagle. Or if you are a fan of another persuasion, just checking in to see how the Obs are doing. You can post whatever greeting you would like to as well. However we get you, however you choose to consume this content, we appreciate you being here with us and taking part in the show here on E2C Network Live. It is good to see you all. Wednesday nights, I always look forward to these because these shows aren't so much about trying to reach a particular audience about a particular topic. This is just about us getting together, you focusing on what you all want to talk about and what you want to discuss. And for me, as a content creator, it's a lot easier in some aspects for me because I just get to sit back and let you guys dictate what we talk about. So we will be taking calls tonight, and I will give the instructions of how to do that. I'm sure many of you know how it works. I'll open up the call lines in just a little bit, but I want to say hello to a lot of you that are already commenting and already checking in. I want to make sure we acknowledge you for being here tonight. We got Carrie Yang from South Carolina, Kalamazoo, Michigan checking in, and of course, Devin from Texas already here. I watched the LSU game from last season when they played it on the 4th. Man, I can't wait until football season, 58 days away. It's really weird to think about that. It felt like when baseball ended, not even, 2-3 weeks ago, an eternity till we'd get college sports to talk about. But here we are, 58 days for football. And if you are following Auburn soccer and Auburn cross country, you will get even more content a lot sooner than you particularly may be interested in. Maybe you're not a soccer fan, but I think you should be. We will definitely do a little bit of that here on this channel. To what extent we will see. It depends on what we do here on this channel is dictated a lot by what you guys watch. Carrie, already talking about a few things that I'm sure is prevalent on a lot of y'all's mind. Jeremiah Cobb and Carmelo English. Yes, we obviously won't know if they are officially Tigers until National Signing Day or early signing day. Those will be the days that they will officially become Tigers. But for now, they obviously are attracted enough to the Auburn pitch to be here and be part of the Auburn family. So we welcome them. We're excited about them, and we really appreciate them being part of our family. Thank you. I love what you do on Wednesday. We get to choose the topic to discuss, and that's what this is about, man. This is the channel as a whole is about you guys. And I think if you talk to a lot of YouTube quote unquote experts, they will tell you that what I do on Wednesday nights in terms of how I set it up and how I market it and stuff like that, doesn't set up for success. I subscribe to that for a little while, and I'm kind of like, you know what? This is more about the people who are here on the regular who want this type of format. And for anybody that comes here, but I know a lot of you that are regulars enjoy this type of thing. So we're going to keep on doing that. Let's see. I'm up here in Michigan watching summer wood baseball, the Northwoods League. I've never heard of that one before, but I'm glad you got some baseball to hold you over. From Pensacola, Dusty checking in, Kyle, over under 725 yards, 5 touchdowns for Shed. I would take over on touchdowns if you'll allow me to do that. I'll split it. It's not that I don't think Shed can't get 725 yards. I just think it's more likely that he'll get over 5 touchdowns than 725 yards. And that's just based off history, right? a lot of what wide receivers have got to do is prove a lot of us wrong in some of our hesitations about them. And that's, I think they're very capable of doing that. Thomas, good to see you. Thank you, sir, for being a channel member and a Booster Club member. Several of you are already either one of those or both of those, but you are one of our newer ones to the Booster Club. So I want to keep giving you a couple of shout outs here. We're going to give you a shout out on social media too soon, sir. But yeah, we got Corey checking in. Let's see. I think that's most everybody so far that has checked in is asking questions. I'll get back to your comments and your questions here in a second, but let me give the instructions for calling in. A lot of you already know the drill. It is posted, should be at the very top of the chat. If you need me to put it in again, let me know. I can put it in the chat, and we'll go with that structure tonight. Call in if you'd like. If I don't bring you in right away, that means that there's someone in line either ahead of you or we're currently talking to, and we usually let people stay on for a little while. But if we get a large crowd, we might have to move people faster tonight. So click that link. You can be on camera, off camera. Love to hear from you guys because, again, this show, while I'm in front of the camera mostly, it's about your thoughts, your perspectives, your comments, questions, and calls. So please don't be shy. Last thing I want to remind you of, we're probably going to extend. Normally we do our survey about a week. We're extending that probably through this weekend. Let me stress this again. If you are someone who filled it out after we announced it last week, like that night of, you need to redo it. We had to restart it over because of a technical error. Please, please, please go do that survey. I will put the link in the chat right now. It is of extreme importance, and we've already learned a lot of things from what you guys have already said on there. So please do that tonight. If you can do that, I will put some more reminders out there. Whether you are a podcast listener, a YouTuber, doesn't matter. Any of our content that you participate in, even just social media, we appreciate your perspectives on things. All right, let's see. Let's get back over here and see what everybody's saying. I always struggle with his name. I'm just calling him Sledge. It said Auburn is like family and very welcoming. And you love to hear that, right? It's one thing for a recruit to say it, but it's another thing for us to live it out. I always say one of my favorite, not necessarily phrases, because you can say it several different ways. And I've never heard like a profound one quote about this, but what people do is actually what they believe, not what they say, what they believe, what they do. So if we live that out, it'll reflect that. And it seems to reflect that in what some of our recruits say, transfers or otherwise, when they come in. Braden Joyner is really working these recruits on Twitter. And Devin, don't be shocked by that. If you'll remember back on the video we did breaking down a long time ago, it was like February, wasn't it? Yeah, it was like right after National Signing Day for the 2022 class, because he was the first of 2023. I said, look for this guy. It's usually the first one on the board for a particular year class. They're the ones that take the lead. They're the ones that make this their own. And they're usually the most solid guys because they kind of take that leadership role on. And the coaches look to them to be their quote unquote silent recruiters. Not so silent, right? But at least in the unofficial sense, to be recruiting for Auburn. He's staying on guys on social media about them recruiting and considering us. And you got to love that about a kid who's so sold out. You can tell that he's all about some Auburn. Do I know anything about the USFL? I do. I will say that personally, I've been burned 2 years in a row not by their own fault, by the AAF and then the XFL. I got wholesale invested to both of those and they let me down. Some things happened, in 2020 and 2021, 22. But I do think I like the idea. I just want to see it survive more than one season before the fact that they made it to their championship game and the Birmingham Stallions won. The other thing too is I want to see some more Auburn players get in there. Sal Cannella had a good year with the New Orleans Breakers, I believe. And you had a couple of other players either that graduated or spent time at Auburn in the USFL. The good thing about the XFL and the AAF is they had a lot more Auburn players. And I think that's what drew me more to them. They had more skill players. So, offensive linemen, they don't typically get noticed a lot, but they are still very important, as we talk a lot about here on this channel. Your thoughts with Auburn's new Spirit Exchange NIL. Will it help get attention of big name recruits? Yeah, I saw that drop. I was, when did that drop? Was that Friday or was that? Anyway, they keep doing these updates on how they operate within NIL. When I first read the initial release, I didn't see anything in there that makes me think that that's going to make a hill of beans in terms of getting big name recruits. But I do think that it's going to make it more organized, more transparent, and more opportunities. More opportunities don't hurt, right? But I don't necessarily think that one specific addition to how they operate their NIL compliance and all that stuff is going to make the thing. It's kind of like we have the same conversation about uniforms, aesthetics, whether it's you use Nike or you use Under Armour like Auburn does. Is that going to make the difference on a big name recruit? Probably not. And if it does, you don't really want that recruit personally, no matter how good they are. But the whole package, making the whole package better, right? Even if they're not Under Armour fans, if you've got a good NIL compliance and implementation process, which Auburn seems to be doing, that's going to be a huge plus. The family atmosphere, having a competitive program, facilities, the whole package together is what sells it, not just that one specific thing. So will it help? Absolutely, it can, if all that made sense. What position group am I most excited about? As much as I want to say I don't sit here and dog them, but I talk about how they need to prove themselves. The offensive line. I mean, I really am excited to see if these guys can get it together this year. I mean, it's not the exciting or sexy thing to talk. Everyone talks about tank, the wide receivers, defensive backs, or line, offensive line. If I see some really good run blocking this year, I'm going to be over the moon, and I'm going to be watching the offensive line more than I have any other year, because you didn't really have to watch hard the last couple of years. All you had to watch was the flurry of people chasing Bo around, and then TJ Finley. So, not that TJ could get away from him as quickly, but hey, Corey is one of your fans with the USFL. I am. I just I need to see a little bit more survivability before I get wholly invested, and more Auburn players as well. But if you guys have a favorite team or a favorite Auburn player that you've watched, please share it here. I'd love to talk about it. We've got picks. You guys call in too and share your thoughts on some of these things. Pick over under Zach Calzada, 3,400 yards, 17 touchdowns. Gosh, that one I'm even less inclined to give a hardcore prediction on, because it's so contingent upon pass blocking and wide receivers. Pass blocking got better last year. Wide receivers. I would probably lean the same way. I think he's more likely to do 17 touchdowns than 3,400 yards. It's really weird if you're assuming that Zach is going to be the starting quarterback. I'm not saying he's not, but we don't have an official word of that yet. We're all seeing all the videos online. Yes, he looks good, and non-contact drills. Yeah, obviously, if you want your mechanics to be good right there, you're going to show those things, right? But what I would say is 17 touchdowns is more likely than 34,000 yards. But if he gets a connection with think about Stidham and Ryan Davis a couple of years ago, easily will get over. Well, not easily. He could get over 3,400 yards. All right, we got our first caller in. We'll get back to your comments and questions here, but feel free to comment along as he shares his opinions. We've been getting schooled every single week, and he's back. Mr. Thomas Manville, what's going on?
Hey, how are you, Kyle?
Doing well. Again, just trying to stay cool from all the heat that continues to roll through in waves through the southeast, at least.
Yeah. Let me tell you, I hope everyone had a great 4th of July. I hope it was safe. I hope it was happy, and I hope you really ate good.
I did this year. We went to two different cookouts, one on the 3rd and one on the 4th, and both were excellent. And so, normally we just go to one event, but I got to see all my family. I was actually in Alabama, passed by Auburn, waved at it lovingly as I went by it. So I had a great 4th. I hope you did as well.
Oh, absolutely. I started cooking on Sunday, and I cooked all the way until about 3 o'clock on the 4th.
Wow, you had a busy day.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we had brisket, we had baked beans, we had pork tenderloin, we had deviled eggs, we had all kinds of stuff.
Well, you had more stuff than I did. I mean, we were just doing hot dogs and hamburgers and chips and sodas and all that kind of stuff, the traditional stuff. So you actually had brisket and stuff. Man, I need to come to your 4th of July party next time.
Oh, I'm a football nerd as much as a barbecue nerd. Let me tell you.
Love it. Love it. All right. What are we getting schooled on this week? What did we decide?
So last week we did defensive line, and then there was someone that wanted to hear about linebackers. And then you said, "Oh well, maybe we'll do linebackers, maybe as DBs. Let's go linebackers."
Let's do it.
All
I
right.
love it.
Who's number one? Say his name.
Owen Papo or Papow.
That's it. Yeah, Papow. I like it. I like it. I'm down with it.
Yes.
So he's obviously going to be the admiral. And I'm tired of people saying, "Oh, he's hurt, he's hurt, he's hurt." Sure, he missed a lot of production last year by being out with an ankle injury. And ankles are big in football, but he's had plenty of time to recover from that.
Yeah.
So let's just start with him. So we know he's going to be the admiral for the linebackers. And I'm going to go ahead and quote him. And I got my notebook and I've got two screens going. So here we go. Let me quote Owen Papo. This team from last year to this year is night and day. I promise you we are on the right track.
Mm-hmm. That's definitely what you want to hear out of your leader.
Absolutely. And he also says, to be honest with you, we needed a culture change, and that's directly referencing Harsin coming in after Malzahn.
Right.
And that's from a team leader. And I'm not going to take anything away from Gus. I know how near and dear he is to you, and I know how near and dear he is to a lot of people that are on this live stream and will watch and are a part of the network. But if a player says they needed that much of a change and he believes in it, I'm on board.
Right.
I'm ready.
Well, yeah, and I would agree that a culture change needs to happen regardless of whether it was Gus or whether it was Harsin. When you switch guys, regimes, when you make a change, you're trying to actually make a change, right? You're not just trying to trade out and do the same thing over and over again. So you would hope that there would be this, maybe not like 180-degree change, but let's say 90-degree change, enough to like change the trajectory of where you were heading or seemed to be heading at the time. So I love the fact that they're recognizing that, at least within himself, right? And then seeing it extrapolated across his unit, his defense, his team, the effects of this change. Because I think what it does is it provides a fresh outlook on what the potential of this team is, right? When you get to see it through a new set of eyes, you're so used to seeing it. What he's been around. He is officially a senior because he's been here for 4 years, if I've got that right in my head. So he's seen a good enough of both sides of it to see what he thinks does and doesn't work. So I value a guy like his opinion.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we know he's a leader, but let's not fool ourselves in thinking that because he was a 5-star and came in and everything else that he didn't play second fiddle to Zacoby McClain.
Right.
Because he did.
Ricochet Rabbit.
And guess what? That's gone.
It is.
And so is Chandler Wooten.
I didn't think there's not a knock on Chandler Wooten, but I didn't think I would miss him as much as I do. And I'm sad to say that because that tells me that I undervalued him in terms of what he brought to the team overall, but as a player too. And, I think he probably was one of the reasons that defense even held together as much as it did.
Right. And people say, well, we haven't, there's no highlights on Papo. Well, guess what? He only played a couple of years in 5 games this year and was out. And then Wooten stepped in. And it was a little rough at the start, but he figured it out. He got it down. They simplified what he needed to do to make sure that he was effective. And there's nothing wrong with that. And there's going to be times this year that we see different linebackers out there and we go, why is this guy there? Well, they're doing what they need to do to be effective. Yep. So we've got to trust the coaching staff. Let's go back to Papo. He is primed to put on an absolute show and make sure that he's going in the draft, and he knows it.
Yeah, he needs to, just not because he's not valuable and he's not a great player. It's just because of his injury, laden time that he's had here.
Right. And ankles are difficult in football. They really are. But they're we've already seen with Calzada, the coaching staff's gonna hide injuries away from us. That's what their job is.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with it. I think he is primed and ready to come out and have that season that we've always wanted to see out of Owen Papo.
Right.
And I'm ready for it. I want it to happen. And I'm excited for the first two games, specifically to figure out who's going to play beside him. Because we know who's there.
Mm-hmm.
So who do you think is going to be the definitive number two linebacker for you?
I think there is an obvious choice, but I think there's a lot of talent that could rise up to the occasion as well. I think it becomes a question. Do you want the Auburn guy or do you want the transfer? I'm going to go with the Auburn guy that's been in the system, even though we've changed defenses a little, and I'm going to say Wesley Steiner.
Okay. All right. And I'm not upset with that at all. And we'll get to Eugene. Don't worry. Since you said Steiner, let's go straight to him. I think he's smarter than people give him credit for at the linebacker position. I think he has the smarts, and he's shown me a little here and there on film, and then with speaking with other people, listening to interviews, these things and that. He's got the smarts to be the next admiral coming up, but I don't think that he's the guy this year that stays in there and makes play after play. He's got great size. He's got decent measurables, but he's got more. I'm more excited about his smarts than anything else.
Right.
So I think he's going to play for us, absolutely.
Right.
But I don't think there's going to be a heavy rotation at linebacker because it's such an essential position of here's how we're calling
continuity. Yep.
Here, D linemen rarely reach over and push the other one over. It's the linebacker that comes down and says, "Hey, scoot over a gap."
Right. Right.
I don't see him and Papo being there at the same time making those calls.
Right. Because you probably want him. You probably want him learning from him in some sets and some opportunities if he is the next wave, right? The next admiral, as you called him. But, you got to learn some on the sideline and then some taking his lead. Can Steiner get some of those opportunities in some of these games where we should, hello, Georgia State, walk over people? I think that's where I guess when I look at things a lot of time, I look at the long-term trajectory and what I'm hoping for. And I guess that's why I look to Steiner, because as you said, the admiral is kind of what I'm looking for, the next admiral, because whether it's because of injuries or it's because he's going to the NFL draft, I just know that my time with Owen Papo is very short.
Right. And sometimes a 1-year field general is the best thing you can get. So even if you don't play and you get 1 year that you're the dude and you're that good, it's good enough to get you up to the next level. And they know that. So why not spend time in the system? Why not learn from guys that are guaranteed to go up there? I mean, he's been behind some dudes before that have already gone pro.
Right.
He understands it. But he's also, I think he's a little bit faster than people give him credit for. And that's excellent for us. He's also, just like all the other linebackers every year he's been there, he's had a new linebacker coach.
Yep.
So we started out, there was the Malzahn regime, and there was one coach, and then you move forward, and then you have last year, Schmedding was the linebackers coach. He gets moved up to DC, then they bring in Christian Robinson. So now they're all working off the same tree. There's no doubt of that. That's how a coaching staff operates. But you've got a different guy giving you information, your position in practice coaching, your one-on-ones of, hey, man, we're doing this today. We're working on hands. We're working on hand placement. And we'll get to Eugene with that too. Watched a lot of film. But when you get to your position coaching and you have a different guy than you did last year, you're going to learn things, and then you're going to have to forget things at the same time.
Right. Right.
So that's a part of it. But according to Owen Papo, everything is on the uptrend for the linebackers. Now, sometimes with our defense, with it being multiple or a base 3-4, we're going to have two linebackers, and then we're going to have other defensive backs or other linebackers come in for different packages and move up.
Right.
That's okay with me. Let's go to Mr. Riley.
I
Cam
knew that
Riley.
was where you were going. I mean that in a good way.
Yeah, he's somebody that everybody's real high on, and I am too. He's a junior and doesn't have a lot of experience. That's not a bad thing, but it's also not a good thing.
Right.
So he's got the size and the measurables to be a really good inside linebacker in the SEC or anywhere for that matter, being that size. He's got a lot. He's got a lot of quickness. I like his quick twitch from the film I've watched. I think that during the first two games, I don't think there's going to be a lot of rotation at linebacker after the first two games. During the first two games, I think we're going to see some rotation there to figure out who's going to play next to Owen Papo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it may be a situational deal, it may be a down and distance deal, and that's what defensive coaching is all right, 3rd and 6 is way different than 3rd and 10. So right. Who do we need out there to do what? And, last week we talked about the D line, and I was talking about Joko Willis being off the edge. There are going to be times that he comes up there and drops off into coverage. Right. And there may be times that Dylan Brooks is there too. I'm not down on Dylan Brooks, but I'm a little higher on Joko Willis being able to flip between two particular positions and be a rush guy or a coverage guy with his speed, measurables, and skill set.
Yeah, I agree with that, yes.
But, yeah, I'm still real high on Dylan Brooks, man. That dude's he's jacked. That's
you could probably put like Steiner and Dylan Brooks in the same category, looking to take the reins from the leaders there that are currently there.
Yeah, that does make good sense. But their height and length are different for different things.
Right.
One is better in pass, one is better in run, one is better in outside run than stuff in the middle.
Yeah.
But we do have options.
I agree with you. I want to hear what you have to say about Eugene, though. I'm interested in this because I don't know what to make of the guy other than he's got experience and coming from a different conference. What does he bring to the table?
We'll go right to it.
I love it. Hit me with the knowledge, the notebook.
The games watched on YouTube in about 6 to 8 hours a week.
My goodness.
Eugene Asante, I don't think he's a bad player at all. I don't think he's built for stopping the run. I think he is way better in pass coverage. He came to North Carolina as a running back and then transitioned to a linebacker.
Mm-hmm.
So his steps, the way he's been trained his whole life, are a little different. His hand placement is one thing. As a running back, you're not taught to take on somebody and move them away. Right. You're get off. I'm going this way. I think he's gonna play a bigger part in pass defense than he will in run defense, and that's not a knock against him, but a pass coverage linebacker that could potentially slide down to a nickel in certain packages for Auburn. That's
so
cool.
So let me take that a step further for application purposes. We probably see him, if he's earned the time to play, we're just assuming that he will do that, probably against a team like Mississippi State, an air raid offense, where they're going to be heavy in that. So that's where you probably see him more.
Right. The only knock I'll have against him is he was made out to be this great starter at North Carolina. He did start, and then he lost his starting spot. And I don't think it's 100% his fault based on what he's doing or how he's playing. I think the particular scheme that they ran at North Carolina, pre-Chisholm, the coach they had the last year when he took over in the bowl game against A&M, I don't think they had him in the right spot. He was playing mostly in the middle. He's not a middle linebacker at all. If we need a middle linebacker, it's Papo or Cam Riley.
Right.
Maybe, and Steiner for run stopping plays specifically.
Mm-hmm.
He is not a inside linebacker, as far as I'm concerned, by any means. And I don't claim to be an expert. I'm just telling you what I can see based on the film that I've watched.
Right.
He is an outside linebacker. He is good in coverage. He's good in zone coverage. He's Their man coverage is very difficult for a linebacker unless you're matched up on the right guy. But the offense is going to try to mismatch you. So I think he's better in zone than he is in man, and people will see that on film and adjust to it. But I, it, he does have experience, but he's never been able to hold a starting spot. And
Right.
that's not a knock against him. He was not in the right system for him.
Right.
But
Yep.
we also have depth at linebacker, which is good for us. And that's not necessarily saying it has to be on the field. It's in practice. Is
Exactly.
depth. Are these guys getting reps? Because the starters know what to do. They're more experienced. Sometimes they take 3 or 4 reps and then they move out. And then the younger guys take 9 or 10 reps in practice. So
Mhm.
we have depth where guys are getting to go one on one and get a feel for things. And 5 home games straight off the bat, that's good for us. If we can do well in the, and let's exclude Penn State, hopefully. But, if we're at a position where we can rotate young guys in and figure out who's the best, who can execute in game situations better than the other one, then we have a better idea of who to put in certain packages, get pass coverage, rush, uh, a different look for anything else. Because if you give an offense a different look, like we talked, this guy moves down last week. Sometimes you got to go, let's check out. We
Mhm.
can do that at the second level too.
Right.
But the defensive line, if they can stop if the running back gets past the linebackers, we got a problem.
Right. So we've talked a
So,
lot about some of that depth, though. Who do you got left at linebackers that you want to mention?
um, the second group is really tough right now because they tend to rotate in at different spots to see who's going to fit where,
Yeah.
and that's good. But after I would say probably 2 to 3 weeks within in the fall camp, we'll know who's going to be on what side.
Hmm.
We also run multiple defenses. Sometimes there's only 2 linebackers. Sometimes there's 4. Sometimes there's 3. Sometimes there's 1. We saw 1 linebacker a couple times last year.
Right.
So who's going to fit in what particular position better? I do think that rover position, that extra nickelback position,
Hmm.
there, I think we'll have a linebacker that can fit that
Yep.
in certain packages. So guaranteed run down, you put the guy that can potentially go out and cover a pass in that extra spot.
Right. Well, I guess what I'm getting at, and this will start wrapping up our discussion on linebackers. We got one person particularly is asking about Powell Gordon out of Auburn. I uh, I wouldn't say that you're not going to see Powell Gordon because, as you just pointed out, this is a multiple schemed defense. We go from 1 to 4 in one snap, maybe, and depending on what's presented by the offense. Is a guy like a Powell Gordon who was just brought in going to see time? I would say assume this. It doesn't matter what position we're talking about. These guys get 4 games essentially before they lose their red shirt. Especially some of these early games, you're probably going to see a lot of guys, especially late in time. If we, again, Georgia State, if we've handled business, so you might see them there, but I wouldn't suspect nothing, but not because Powell Gordon can't do that, can't take that position, but guys like that, you're not going to see a lot of outside of the second half of some of those games. Would you agree with that, or is there anybody else from that second group that you keep your eye on?
No, no, I agree with what you said. A lot of times you recruit linebackers for special teams. They're
Yeah.
a little tougher. They're fast, but they're a little tougher as well. They can block fairly well. They've been in most people played special teams as much as they played first or second team defense.
Right.
So I think Powell Gordon is an excellent special teams option. I'm not saying that he can't play in the game at all.
Hmm.
That there there's a large case that he could come in within some scrub time, gain some knowledge, and then be hey man, we're gassed. It's 2nd and 5. Get in there. He
Right.
can be that guy for us. There's no reason he can't. But you do recruit for special teams just as much as you do anything else.
Mm.
But you also recruit for depth.
Right. Right. Final thought on this particular player, because one person just mentioned them. Woodyard, Robert Woodyard, the steal of the class from Alabama Crimson Tide.
Right.
Does he play more than 4 games in your opinion?
No, he has not had a year or more in college strength and conditioning. He has not had enough time in the playbook, and we're going from one coordinator to another. Now they're keeping it very much the same from what we hear, but the calls are different. So the whole defense, starters, second string, third string, are all learning different calls. I don't see him going up the roster that far
Right.
to have to play that much. I think he needs, and now he's a big dude, but he got a little baby fat on. It happens. It does. It's part of it. I think he needs a year in strength and conditioning and a year in the playbook. There's a. I would say he probably, if he plays this year, it's 15 snaps or less. And I'm not down on the guy. I'm so glad that we got him and flipped him from y'all know who. I'm all about it. But we got to put the best guy on the field first. We
I agree with that.
we can't give up a 25-yard run just to get somebody experience.
I agree with that. I do. As always, man, you come well prepared and well versed on these positions, and I was ready to hear your thoughts on linebacker, because as much as I know that we have depth there, and I know we have a solid leader there, there's a lot of question marks in terms of, will these guys rise to the occasion alongside Owen, and will Owen stay healthy? So on that note, as your exit interview or your exit answer, I'm going to put you on the spot, in a tough spot here. We're knocking on wood, essentially. How many games does Owen Papo miss this year, as your final prediction for this
So,
group?
last year, I think he only played in about 5
I
games.
think so. I'm not even certain it was that many, but you're probably close.
So how many weeks are there in the season? So
So
let's
you've
say
got 12 games, 13 weeks in the regular season.
right, and then off season he was out the bowl game as well. Plus spring he never did anything. That's a lot of weeks to recover. I think he plays every single game this year.
All
I
right.
think
Well, you heard it here first.
I think he has that much to prove because he knows what he's capable of. And there's reports that he's one of the fastest guys on the teams. He's
I
got
believe it.
vegetables. It's I I think he fights harder than he's ever fought before, and he plays every single game.
I hope so, because a lot of this has not been under his control. It's just injuries sometimes just get you, and they get you more often than you like. And I'd like to see his story become one of not unrealized potential because of anything he did, but because I'd like for that potential we know it's not just we're assuming it's there. We've seen it. Let's get him on the field. Let's take care of him. Let him take care of himself. Keep him healthy, and let's see what this kid can do. Because I'm excited for him. I'm excited for the linebackers. I mean, I'm just excited, as we've been talking about together the last couple of weeks. So, Thomas, thank you so much again, and for sharing us with your knowledge. And I look forward to next week's breakdown of defensive backs, or however you want to break it down. We can do defensive backs, safeties, and then cornerbacks, or all together, whatever you want to do.
Hey, we'll figure it out, but at least we know it's going to be defensive backs. But once they're over, I got nothing else to do. If y'all want special teams, let me know. If you want coaching staff,
Bring it, buddy. Bring it. Just bring it.
Time. I got time.
We got 58 days to football, so you got time to make it up.
Yeah, you better believe it. I'm waiting on it. I'm counting hours down.
Love it. Love it. Well, hey, buddy, thank you for calling in.
Hey, hashtag E2C for life. Have a good evening, E2C family. We love y'all. War Eagle.
War Eagle, man. Awesome. Great to hear from Thomas. We have another caller ready to go, so we'll bring him in just a second. I should have done this earlier. Let me bring this up. As you see me change the logo this side, Kyle, get it right. Our friends at All Things Auburn are providing, as of late, these streams for you guys. So please do check them out if you're looking for a place to stay at Auburn, not just for game days, but just for any visit to the loveliest village on the plains. Our friends at allthingsauburn.net. Wow, get that right. All right, let's talk to caller number 2, another one of our regulars, Mr. Kevin. What's up?
War Eagle.
War Eagle, how are you doing, buddy? I like that hat.
I love it too.
Where'd you get that hat at?
Oh, Mobile Flea Market.
Oh, I gotta go visit the Mobile Flea Market now. I don't frequent Mobile a lot, but if I ever do, I'll have to go swing through there and see if I can get a nice hat like that, sir.
Can we talk about the wide receivers and running backs?
Yes, we can talk about whatever you want. So lay it on me. What you got?
We got four. We got two commitments.
Yep.
Uh,
We
the
got
guy
Jeremiah Cobb,
Demar Cobb and Camilo English,
English.
and I think they will start next season.
You think so? You think they're that good that they're going to start next season?
Yeah,
Well, I will tell you this. Jeremiah Cobb, I don't see starting next year because we have Tank Bigsby, we have Jarquez Hunter,
yeah,
we
Jerk.
have Jarquez. I mean, if he stays healthy, we've got Damari Alston, and we've got guys like Sean Jackson, Jordan Egren. So I do think that we are fine at running back, and we won't need his services. Now, crazier
Sean,
things have happened. What's that?
Sean Jackson did good at the A-Day game.
He did enough to get a a scholarship. So that to me shows me he's ready to have some time given to him too. So I would disagree with you on that point, but
Yeah,
wide receiver wise, if there's any position where it is wide open for anybody to take the opportunity, it is right there. And Carmelo English, from all intents and purposes, looks like a guy that has the talent to maybe step in on day one and take some playing time. But he still has to do it, and there's a lot of guys that are also wanting to seize the moment themselves.
Javaris Johnson.
You got Javaris Johnson, you got Tavares Dawson, you've got
Capers.
Capers. I mean, we've got new guys coming in. Warsham's coming in. I mean, we got wide receivers out the wazoo, and you always want a lot of them. But
Worsham, is he at Auburn right now?
Most everybody should be reported this summer. If not, they're not. So sometimes, there's guys that got to finish up a summer school class. I don't know Jalen Warsham's status officially. If anybody else knows that in the chat, they can share that. But I would say that he is probably on campus.
I think
so.
that Robert Woodard might get to play some this year.
I would say that where Thomas was talking about, and I tend to agree with him, that he thinks Woodard probably would not see a lot of time outside those 4 games that they can do before they redshirt. I don't know. There's something about Robert Woodard that makes me feel like he can do more than that, personally.
How about the field goal kickers?
So I don't know an official update on Anders Carlson. I know that he was at least doing 30-yarders about a month or so ago. I would suspect he's probably working his way up to those 50-yarders that we seem to want to always make him attempt to do, right?
Yeah.
But you got the new kid coming in, and McPherson. Again, I think the goal should be for, unless you absolutely can't have some of these freshmen for depth purposes or because they're just that good, you want to keep them on your campus as much as you can to develop them. So I would say red shirt, unless you absolutely cannot.
When is the Big Cat Weekend?
Big Cat Weekend, I don't have the official date, but it is usually at the very end of July. So we're looking 3 weeks away. If anybody in the chat wants to confirm
3
that.
weeks away, yeah.
I think is what we're sitting at. And Dusty just confirmed that Worsham is on campus. I think that's
good.
who he is. Yeah. But yeah, so there's that as well. Let me. What's going on?
How far do you live from campus?
Oh, I live up north of Atlanta, so I'm about 2.5 hours, roughly. Depends on the. It depends on.
Hey, Atlanta Braves just hit back-to-back homers.
Well, that's good. I am a Braves fan. I know we've got a lot of people who are Braves fan, but I'm sure there are some that's.
I think our quarterback will be Zach Casada.
That seems to be everybody's been thinking that since he got here, and I would say the closer we get to it, it does make a lot of sense. But I'm not ready to declare him the starter yet.
Hey, can he beat Georgia and Alabama?
Oh gosh, I hope so.
Yeah, me too.
I do so. All right, here. Let me ask you this, and let me get a final question out of you. What was I had it in my head and then I forgot.
I think we can go 12-1.
12-1.
Yeah,
I hope so. All right, so let me ask you this. This has prompted my decision. Final question for you: if it's not Zach Calzada, is it TJ Finley, Holden Gerner, or Robbie Ashford that starts?
Robbie Ashford.
I figured that's where you were going to go with that one.
because he used to play at Hoover when Cedric Jackson played, and I lived in Hoover, Alabama. I went to their games.
Right, right.
And I met them.
Nice, very nice. Well, I'm jealous of that. So, hey, next week when you come on, I want another hat. I want like a different hat for you to show off to me, okay?
Okay.
All right, buddy. Thank you for
War
calling
Eagle.
in tonight. War Eagle.
Bye.
Bye. All right. Good to hear from Kevin as well. Thank you guys for calling in. You guys can call in too. Take advantage of that link up there. So here's what we do. We spend a lot of time talking to some of our callers. I know a lot of you asked questions and dropped comments on that. We'll try to work our way back up through some of those, but you guys can re-enter those in if you'd like, so we can kind of get back to them a little bit quicker if you would like on that, because I'm going to try to stay up to date on the questions now, but keep calling in if you'd like. Kerry asked about, he says, I want Robbie to get his chance. Well, I mean, he just got here, so it's not like this isn't a situation of, I'm blanking on his name now. He's gone, and somebody help me out. The quarterback from Texas that just lost. Oh my gosh. Not Malik Willis. Oh, this is embarrassing. Anyway, it's not that same situation. I think Robbie has plenty of opportunities left, given some time. Brock Glenn was also supposed to commit 2 days ago. I just wouldn't marry myself to timelines with these commits, especially as they start getting more offers from other major programs, as you saw. Thank you. D. Davis is who I was thinking of. God, that's embarrassing. Anyway, yes, I forgot. Listen, if you understood how many Auburn athletes I have to try to memorize, I'm talking about football, soccer, volleyball. I mean, I'm not even, honestly, I couldn't tell you a single volleyball player right now. But I'm trying to be somewhat knowledgeable, be able to speak on all of these things. It's tough, man. It is tough. So as soon as somebody leaves, I kind of like check that one off the box there. Brodarius Ham in the USFL draft. Did he get picked up, or are you saying he's already there? I want to see Brodarius Ham succeed. So if he gets any opportunity, I will follow his career. Where is Drayshun Miller? Gone, I think. Can anybody confirm that one? I think he's gone. I think he's not part of the program anymore. Do you like the idea of the transfer portal? Transfer portal is good if it is regulated properly, and it's a thing that can hurt and help you. I think Coach did a great job of minimizing the losses, and actually, if you talk about it on a balancing equation, came on the positive end of that. We will see the fruits of that if that's true this season. But yes, I would say it is probably one of those things. If you ask me to put a percentage, do I like it on? It's probably like 55% right now, because we're benefited from it. Marquise Robinson. I mean, he was one of those guys that, believe, if I have this right, he went into the portal and came right back out. So he could be being slept on. I think that's a lot because of his choices there. Cobra, who I saw you say earlier that you were, and now I'm blanking on your name as well, because you've given me this different Twitter handle. I see that you've been maybe disconnected from the program for what? TD's, he's gone. Right? Yes. Now I'm questioning it. Thomas says he wants, I saw that comment earlier, want to know about the water boy from him as well. Well, he will get some numbers on it if he can do it for you. Did I do fireworks? No. I've done fireworks before in the past and nearly killed myself, so I kind of let other people's do it and enjoy it from afar. But I do like fireworks. Zacchaeus Walker to get a chance. All these guys got potential. They just got to seize the opportunities that are given. And that's the thing that I stress is, we get into these scenarios like it was Demetrius Davis too, story, now that I can remember his name. Everybody was assuming that he wasn't getting an opportunity. Well, just because you're not getting opportunities on the field doesn't mean you're not getting an opportunity. Seize the opportunities that are afforded you, even if they are just in the practice sense. Thank you, Corey. Drayshun Miller transferred to NC State as a walk-on. So that kind of tells you, unfortunately, how things went for him, at least while he was here. Let's see. going back here. Thought trying to see if I thought there was one comment earlier that didn't want to miss out on, but it seems like we've hit most of those. Yeah. Okay. All right, we'll keep moving on. Keep moving right along. Alex McPherson is a really good kicker. Yes, he is. He is a very good kicker. And at the high school level, is he good enough to be as good in college? We will find out in about a year, because hopefully, as we talked about, Anders is healed up, ready to go, and we will hopefully not put him in some of the positions that we forced him into this past season. And I think there's a lot of pressure on his shoulders to live up to his brother's name, and that's tough enough when you have an offense that's counting on you to be the only offense. So a lot of weight on the shoulders if you're with the Anders name. Let's see. I have non-conference schedules for the next 3 years. 23, you got UMass at Cal, New Mexico State. 24, you got Cal, New Mexico, ULV. 25, Baylor, Ball State. And 26, Baylor, Southern Miss, UCLA, and Miami is in 29, I think. Believe it's in 20, because we've got, the way I always try to keep track of it is this, that who is our major opponent. So you've got future Big Ten opponents, UCLA, Cal coming up next. Then we go to UCLA back and forth. Then we go to Baylor back and forth, and then we're going to do Miami back and forth. Yeah, that's how that's supposed to go. So I'm kind of interested to see what deals they're going to make for major opponents after the Miami deal, because we're kind of getting to that point where they start kind of announcing those and planning those out. I would suspect at the end of this year we're announcing who's after the Miami game, because they announced that Baylor was happening like 5-6 years ago. So some exciting opponents to look forward to. Who is your number one standout recruit going into the season? Who brings the biggest? So you're asking me who is my standout recruit from this class that is going to make the biggest splash? I don't know why. I will say Damari Alston, running back, because not that I think he's going to see significant playing time. I hope not. If he does, that means we've got injury prone at running back. I just think he strikes me a lot of Jarquez Hunter, a lot of talent that's hidden, and given the opportunity will show that talent even in limited time. Dusty's heading out. Good to see you tonight, buddy. Thank you for being here, and hope everything's still going well with you and your family. Auburn can draw recruits. Harsin doesn't have the signature wins to draw recruits outside of building a program. Those wins plus NIL will get recruits we need, but it has to happen first. And I think there's a lot of frustration. You'll see this discussed a lot, right? About everybody was lamenting when several recruits passed on Auburn this week. I think there was probably only one serious one that Auburn had a really solid chance at. Outside of that, it was really just those two and the one we got. And then Jeremiah Cobb as well. But then you had some guys that were supposed to sign and decided they were going to wait. One of those, Carmelo English, decided to kind of surprise everybody on July 4th. So you couple that with kind of missing on players that everybody thinks that we should get, and that some of the players moving them back. There's a lot of frustrations, and when you count, people start. I know I preach about this till I'm blue in the face, and I know a lot of you roll your eyes at me virtually when I say this. Stop paying attention to the recruiting rankings. Stop it. Just stop it. I promise you, it is not going to amount to a hill of beans in your happiness level. In fact, it will do nothing for you happiness-wise. Can it be fun to talk about things? Yes, of course. If Auburn's the number one recruiting in the SEC according to this service, of course I'm going to celebrate that. But I choose over time and experience of learning how toxic at times that environment can be. It's just not for me. If you can do it without it infecting your life, more power to you. I just celebrate when they get here personally. And I know that turns a lot of people off because They really love them some recruiting. Anyway, that's my soapbox for tonight. We got a lot of discussions about conference realignment as of late. I'm surprised it's the first time we brought this up tonight. Clemson might be in the SEC soon. I heard Texas is coming to the Carrie. You heard right. Texas is coming, and Oklahoma. That's official. That's officially 4 years away. Will it happen sooner? Probably. Especially with what's been going on. We've talked about this previously. I think Clemson is going to have to make a choice between, can they be the marquee and have enough support from the rest of the ACC to help it survive, or do they jump ship? If that happens, then yes, the SEC will likely scoop them up. But this whole Pac-12 ACC alliance, which I'm calling the Coastal Conference, because it's literally the coast now, I actually like that a lot, and that may be what makes it survive in that sense of the word. All right. Keep your comments and questions coming. We'll come back to some of them if we can. We do have another caller, though, so let's talk to him. He is one of our regulars. He is one of our Booster Club members as well. Excuse me, are here on the channel, but I appreciate Mr. Russell for being here.
Hey, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, how you doing?
Good, good. Can you hear me okay?
I can. I got a little silhouette of you, though. You don't want us to see your face?
Oh, that's a good thing, right?
That's
Keep
all right.
them
Whatever you want to do. I'm just messing with you. You know, it was like all mystical in the background with the sunset, and then we got the silhouette of this gentleman there. I was like, oh wow, that's very mysterious.
We want to keep them tuned in. Let's keep it mysterious, right?
What's going on, sir?
Not much, buddy. Not much. I was just calling. I caught parts of the show. I wanted to call and hadn't talked to you in a little while, but yeah. Hey, I've had some good topics tonight. It's got me thinking about a lot of things, especially like the USC UCLA game. Now, is Auburn still going to play USC if we're in the same conference in a few years?
Well, they'll play UCLA and they'll play Cal. So Cal's not switching, not Southern Cal, but Cal's not switching. UCLA is switching. I would bet by the time we get to UCLA, which would be, so not this year, not next season, but the next 3 years away, 3 seasons away, we're playing a Big Ten opponent, not a Pac-12 opponent, personally.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Yeah, and we're talking about the commits. That was a good week. We needed that. That was a shot of medicine. We really needed it.
It was, and I think it got me excited. You know, I tuned into recruiting a little bit more than I typically do because of that. You know, you kind of get you energized. All right, what's next? Who's next? You can feel the drug kind of hitting you. You know, but I'm just happy to see some of these guys start to commit, because I think it builds momentum, not just for us as fans, but it builds it for other recruits. And whether they ultimately decide to come to Auburn or not, they kind of start turning their eye towards Auburn. Like, all right, what am I missing? Is it time for me to make that decision or start considering Auburn more? You know, there is something to that. So I think it does a lot of things for fans, but I think it does even more for the program, even immediately when you get back-to-backs like that, but as early as they're doing.
Exactly. It was great being from the state of Alabama. It was also, you're talking about perception when your comments on YouTube, and it's totally great for perception in state, because, you know, Harsin said he wants to keep them close to home, and we haven't done as well as we should have in Auburn and Montgomery here of late. So to get those guys here locally, 3 out of 4 from the Montgomery area, if I'm not mistaken, or Auburn area, that's great, you know, and they're talented too. So it's not just they're taking guys locally; they're really talented. Powell Gordon last year, and Eston Harris. You know, it's hopefully it's going to continue. You know, that's something, if we can keep them in the back, keep them home. I like that, because I don't know, I'm old school, and it kind of seems like maybe I'm just totally wrong on this, but guys local seem to play a little bit maybe harder, more consistently, maybe, or especially during the big rivalries like the Iron Bowl, because they kind of grew up here. I
was about to say, why do you think that is?
That's just maybe I'm wrong, and that could be totally off. But
I think there's something to what you're saying, but I also think it goes further than that. I think they had this pressure because their hometown, even if they're from the surrounding areas, not specifically Auburn, feel to them, and they want to do right by their community, do right and show that, I decided to stay close to home. But this is why, because I was worth being here. I didn't make this decision. Auburn didn't choose me because it was the easiest thing to do, is because I have something to contribute, and there's no other place that I want to be.
That's right. That's right. Because when you want to be there, like you're homegrown, you want to be there. You're playing for the state. You got friends and family local, and not that I don't like people from out of state either. That's great. Some of our best players have been from out of state, but I like having a nice nucleus, a nice core of in-state, so they can kind of explain it to the other guys who come in from out of state. They can get to feel a little bit more from somebody who's experienced it. But yeah, y'all are even talking about Woodyard, and I got high hopes for Woodyard this year. There was a recruiting story about Papo telling him he couldn't wait or a player telling him he couldn't wait to play beside him next year. So I think there's high hopes for him to get a lot of playing time this year, and even Powell Guard. Yeah, just that's another thing. Two things I wanted to bring up also. I keep remembering these good topics y'all came up with, but you were talking just a second ago about quit worrying about rankings on recruiting. You're absolutely 100% correct. First of all, signing day's not till December. So, Keldrick Falk, whenever he signs the dotted line for Auburn in December, everybody will be happy then. But besides that, I talked about this before. The people that Harson's selecting, they may not be the top of the line ranking wise, but he's getting his guys. He's getting the guys that he specifically wants that fit what he wants. Now, I know a lot of people say that they use that as an excuse.
Right.
But some of the guys, some of the people he's gone and got, proofs in the pudding with him, because a lot of his transfers have paid off immediately. Marcus Harris, Leota, the late like Jarquez Hunter. He wasn't even all that highly rated, and people love the guy, and he's great.
Right.
So the rankings and the stars, they can matter to an extent, but also if the coach knows what he's doing, and I have hopes. I know I'm a sunshine pumper, but I really have hopes that this staff is really good at spotting talent. And they haven't hit on everybody. Of course, somebody just mentioned Drayshawn Miller a minute ago. It just didn't work out for whatever reason. But, take a shot on an All-American or an All-Conference guy. That's great. Why not? I can understand if he did take a shot on him. But he's hit on a lot of the other guys, and a lot of these freshmen, they're about to get in the strength and conditioning programs. So we're really going to see here in the next couple of years how good of talent spotters they are. But they look to be good. We're going to see with Calzada from first get what. Excuse me, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but it looks like we'll see how good of talent spotters they are with Calzada, because apparently he's the guy made for this system that they're trying to run. So,
indications are that way. When I say that the race is open, I don't I do that for the sake of just being contrary. I think that the betting money, if I was a betting person, which I'm not advocating for, but if I was a betting person, I would put money on Calzada being the starter. And I think that's just logical sense based off the information that we have. Although I stand by what I said at the end of the spring game, that Robbie Ashford put himself in position for contention for this thing. I haven't given an official update on my percentages. I plan to do that. The trouble is you're doing this balancing act, or when are they going to name an official starter with actually giving your prediction? You won't give it too soon or too late. I would say, though, it's kind of an unofficial update to that percentage. If you remember, I gave Calzada, I think I gave basically Robbie Ashford and TJ equal chance after spring. Calzada like just a hair under them, and then Gerner, right, obviously kind of lower on that end, but he had gained a little bit. Right. I would say that the three, TJ, Calzada, Robbie, are equal right now. And I know it's a bit of a cop out, but I would say it really is. We're going in equal to spring game. Let's see who wants to separate themselves.
I can understand that. And it is equal, and that's the way it should be. It shouldn't be any other way. Otherwise, he'd be compromising what he preaches about giving everybody a shot and letting the best man win. So it absolutely should be equal at this point. And let the chips fall where they may. If it be Holden Garner, then so be it. If it be Sawyer Pate, so be it. And Sawyer Pate's the starting quarterback at Auburn, so be it.
Listen, I love Sawyer Pate, but if Sawyer Pate's our guy, no offense to him, I'm going to be a little worried. That means that 4 other very competent quarterbacks, and I'm not saying Sawyer's not. I just don't know that Sawyer, based on what I know about him, is ready to be the SEC quarterback that I think you have to be in this league.
That would be a shock to anybody's system, I think, going from not expecting to all of a sudden you're on Auburn's football field playing quarterback. That's got to be quite concerning. But we'll see him. I'm sure we'll see him in a couple of games. But my phone might die here in a second. I wanted
That's
to get
fine.
to one more question. I'm on 3%, but it's dropped like 5% in the last 30 seconds.
We'll get it in real quick here.
But yeah, this is a quick one. This is just me sunshine pumping again on how much better I think the team is next year. I'm just going to go down real quick, see what I can. I might have to call back next week. But defensive line, do you think it's improved, or worse than last year?
Defensive line, I would say, if you're asking for my prediction, is what you're saying.
Yeah. Just off the top of your head. I'm not going to hold you to it.
Yes, I would say it is definitely improved. I think a lot of that comes from the lack of push that there was in 90% of the games. If you all remember how well we pushed against Alabama. Now, some of that is due to, as we kind of talked about with other topics here, it's a certain thing that happens when you play one of your rivals, especially when you've got nothing else to lose and had a bad season. You know, there's kind of that extra mad at something kind of thing. So when we look at a holistic view of last year's push and defensive line,
I'm about to lose you, but keep going, Kyle. I'm at 1%, but keep going.
All right. So yes, my direct answer to you would be yes, it is improved. Okay. How much? We will find out, I think, against a team like a Georgia, against a Texas A&M. So that's much later. I think we might get a little bit not blindsided. That's the word I'm looking for. We might get a little bit of a wool pulled over our eyes by the first few games, but then after that, we'll see what happens. All right. Did we lose you? Russell? You there? I think we lost Russell. All right. I'll have to pull him out of there, unfortunately. So it was good to hear from Russell. Unfortunately, that happens from time to time. But I hope that that answered the question for all of you guys there. All right. Comments, questions, derogatory rebuttals, keep them coming in. Normally this is the time where I leave. I don't have anywhere to be tonight. So I can hang around for just a few more minutes. So if you'd like to call in, I didn't even put the thing up tonight. I'm all out of whack tonight. You go on summer break essentially, and you forget your routine and stuff. So line is still open if you'd like to call, and we'll keep hanging out for just a few more minutes here. Do want to remind you again, check out that link I just posted in the chat. It is our survey. If you haven't done it, it takes 5 minutes. It is of huge help to us. I cannot stress that enough. It helps me dictate what is going to happen on this network, what you guys like, what you don't like, where to spend a lot of our time focusing on content for you all. If you have done it, if you did it the night we announced this last week, you need to do it again if you haven't. But basically, if you haven't done it, please do it. And we look forward to your response. It is anonymous, although there are probably ways to figure out who you are specifically. But, you know, we try to keep it as anonymous as possible. Let's see here. Corey says Calzada would have to break his leg to not be the starter. It's probably true, but because of those injuries, that's why I'm still giving some other people the chance. Let's hope Auburn wins. Hope Penn State wins and Auburn goes. Oh, I forgot, Teddy, that you're a Big Ten fan. That's right. I forgot. I always forget about that. See, Teddy, you throw me off with your name because I don't expect you to be a Big Ten fan, which some of your teams may be in the Big Ten by the end of this, the way that conference expansion is going. So it would make sense then either way. Auburn has had some of his best moments through the years. I remember the 2019 Oregon Bowl game, a touchdown to Seth Williams. Seemed pretty good right then, didn't it? There were some other great moments after that, but I would say those have been hit or miss after that point. Who, if you took 11-1, who would be the one loss? I would say it's either Georgia or Alabama. Georgia lost a lot of talent. I'll say Alabama. Auburn has never lost at home to a non-conference team. Is that true? I don't think that that's true. Someone clarify that for me. In fact, I know it's not true because I was at the South Florida game where we were ranked number 2. South Florida beat us and then jumped to number 2. Yeah, that was the year that South Florida was really good. Or was it? It was South Florida. That's when they were having a great year. They had some great quarterback. So I know that's not true. Let's let's see here. Why doesn't Auburn make the orange face mask mandatory? They look so good. I think they look fine. If they're going to make anyone mandatory, I would say the white ones. The white ones match everything better, especially the away uniforms. Yeah. Orange, I'm not as big of a fan of, but I know there are, if you looked at, we did a reaction video to the players giving their picks for which one they liked. And a lot of them, I would say was 80% picked the white, like the next was the orange and then the traditional blue. It was kind of shocking for me to see that. Carrie, I think you're wise in not planning on Auburn beating Alabama or Georgia this year, just from what we know about the team currently and what we know about their teams. However, there's a half a season until Georgia, and there is a full season until Alabama. So I'm willing to say that there's opportunity for Auburn to improve enough, and for either of those teams to show that they're not what we think they are. If y'all know that reference. To reevaluate that when we get there. We got confirmation we did lose to UCF. I was at that game. Very frustrating. SEC is loaded. Cover 3 podcast said Auburn has the toughest game. Oh, it's not just the Cover 3 podcast. Everyone, when you play right now, especially Alabama, Georgia, every single year, that alone puts you in like the top 5 every single year. You throw in LSU, even when they're having a down year, Texas A&M, the rest of the SEC, and then playing a solid non-conference opponent every single year. Of course, they have the hardest job and the hardest thing ever. Yes, I do think that Tank will go to the NFL this year. Running backs' longevity is not as much as it used to be, and so they need to maximize their profits and their knees as long as they can. High Fly, have we talked about quarterbacks this year yet? On and off. I mean, not to say it's a tired subject, but I don't think there's anything else more that you can say. Calzada is the presumed by the fans favorite. I would still submit to you that there's an equal playing field between Zach, TJ, and Robbie right now. Equal playing field, and no amount of videos that someone, whether they are or not, it claims to be an expert, posting them should make you think otherwise, especially when it's in non-contact drills. And listen, me saying that, I know what that sounds like, that I'm going to be eating crow when Zach Calzada is the starter. I'm expecting him to be the starter right now, but I'm still not ready to declare him as the favorite, if that makes sense. It makes sense in my head. I don't know if it makes sense to you. Carrie, we've all been ready for Bama to not be good, and it hasn't happened. So I think Saban will have to leave, and the person after them, he is Satan after all, will have to let it fall apart before that happens. So we're probably a good decade away from them really taking a nosedive. It comes, they seem to go in a cycle, unlimited success, it seems like, and then they go, it's coming. And when it comes, oh, it's going to be glorious. It's going to be glorious. Let's see. Stormtroopers. I was at the USF game too. Rough night. Yeah, that was a rough night. That was not fun. Not fun at all. If the O-line is on point this year, we will beat Bama and Georgia. I agree with that. I would submit that for every game this season. If Auburn's offensive line creates a push in the run game and maintains the improvements, however so slight, that they made in the pass coverage, they would improve even if Bo was still here as the quarterback. And I'm not saying that Bo wouldn't be the starter if he was still here. I'm just saying that even in those circumstances, you're really the struggles with this team, most specifically with this offense. I've said it till I'm blue in the face. Offensive line. Couple that with a struggling wide receiver core, and then the lack of being able to get a run game going, it will just do so much damage to yourself. Calzada might not be going to the NFL. I'd say if he does well this year, he might. We'll have to wait and see. Jarquez, no. He is just a sophomore, and he just got hurt, so he would have to be the feature back and have to have an outstanding year to pull off something like that. He will be around. 99% sure he'll be around for the next season. I keep saying Harsin snapped the LSU streak, so let's hope he can snap the other ones too. Absolutely. We haven't won in Athens for a while or Tuscaloosa. It's high time for that to happen. High Fly, I got a tour of the football facilities, and I'm really glad we are getting a new facility. I was told they will move in at the end of the season. That's probably what I assumed would happen. I had an outside hope that they were going to have this thing ready to start this season, but it just ain't there. And you don't want that distraction in the middle of the season. I would imagine that's probably how Harsin feels. Let me know how you got that facility preview, because I want some of that action. Please do. Was the best in 09, barely in 20, no other year. It's probably fair to say. It's probably fair. Honk if you sacked Brody. Who remembers those days? That was good stuff. Good stuff. Seth Williams, I wish he had a better career in the NFL, but he's a backup wide receiver now, and he has good farm. Well, he just got there, though, Kerry, so he could have a better career after that point. Been 12 years since we beat Bama at home and 17 since we beat Georgia. We are due, and I remember both of those. Gosh, it's been a long time. Really long time. All right. Final comments, questions, derogatory rebuttal. I can take one more call if you'd like to click that link, but you'll have to get it in here fast as we'll start winding down our show. Again, reminders, if you haven't, please, at the end of this show, take the survey. 5 minutes is all it takes. I know I sound like I'm begging at this point because I am. We've gotten responses, but I'd love to get as many as possible to get a full scope of who watches, listens, where. It really helps us make decisions. Check out links in the description for ways that you can help our content in terms of supporting it financially. Hit the join button here to be a channel member. You can sign up for the Booster Club, gets yourself some extra perks, or you can even donate in some various ways. The thanks button here, PayPal, all kinds, super chats, all kinds of different ways. Check out those links in the description. But we appreciate you just being here and hanging out with us and spending some time with us. And smashing the like button, retweeting, sharing to Facebook. You know what? The one thing you can do is tell a friend, get them into the fold. Let's build this E2C network family, because I'm looking for us to have, as Auburn, to have a great year, especially in football in 2022. But I want us to have a great year as an E2C network family. So those are my pitches to you. And again, thank you to All Things Auburn for making our family live streams possible. All right, let's look here. See what you guys are saying. Lee, I think you misunderstood what they were saying. They were talking about at Athens and at Tuscaloosa. So that's what they were talking about, not at home. One of the coaches is good friends with my family, and he coached me in baseball. High Fly. High Fly. Hook a brother up. His response to me then would be, what is it? Go get a, what's the thing he keeps wanting me to get? Let's see. Unbleaten Lake, where have you been, buddy? Jackson, Wyoming. Wow. It's a beautiful place. Where have you been? We're about to sign off here, but get some last minute thoughts and questions in here. Let's see here. 9 touchdowns over under for Coy Moore. Under. I don't think you're going to see. Someone asked me earlier, Shed Jackson, I think it was you, 7 touchdowns. I think he is the most likely to get that over 7. And I don't think anybody else gets any higher than that. Just, my opinions. You take it or leave it. Thank you so much, Kerry, for being here, and appreciate the kind words and you spending time with us here. I appreciate all you guys spending time with us, hanging out with us, talking, calling in. I mean this when I say this. I know Wednesday nights don't seem to be the biggest audiences, but you guys feel the most in some ways. I don't want to play favorites, but special to me because you keep showing up, you keep coming back, and to see some of y'all, to have the extra bit of interaction that you get in some of these shows. It means a lot to me personally, and I hope it means something to you all, because you all are the best little family within the Auburn family. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. And I'm excited for next Wednesday. live, 8 p.m. Be here or be square. We'll have some videos coming out this week, podcast this week. By the way, go check out our interview with baseball, our pitcher from baseball, Hayden Mullins. Great kid, great conversation I had with him. Anyway, I'll stop plugging things. You guys are the best little family in the Auburn family. Until we talk to you again.